In 2021, astronomers announced that they had found between 70 and 170 free-floating planets. Such planets are also called rogue because they don't orbit around any star. And the majority of these huge unattached planets, each approximately as large as Jupiter, dwells in one particular region of the Milky Way galaxy. It's known as the Upper Scorpius-Ob Stellar Association. Wow, doesn't it sound like the name of some homeowners association? Anyway, this conclusion was made by a team of astronomers that used telescope observations from all over the world and in space. They also looked through 80,000 wide-field images taken over a couple of decades. Scientists have estimated there might be billions or even trillions of rogue planets wandering around our galaxy. If their estimations are true, it might mean that the Milky Way contains more free-floating planets than stars. Ooh. This region of the sky is around 420 light-years away from Earth. A lot of amateur astronomers are familiar with it since lots of cool stuff is located there. The most famous targets for astrophotographers include dark nebula, like Barnard 68, Coal Sack, or Pipe Nebula, as well as the colorful region around Rho Ophiuchi. But let's get back to mysterious rogue planets. They wander the galaxy alone, totally untethered. Without stars, they don't have days or nights, only eternal darkness. Of the thousands of planets scientists have detected outside of our solar system, only a dozen or so are starless and cruising on their own. Recently, astronomers have announced one more finding, the tiniest known rogue planet. The mass of this space traveler is somewhere between the masses of Earth and Mars. The term itself, a rogue planet, suggests that such celestial bodies might desert their stars on purpose. They wander off on their own, carving a new path through the Milky Way. But the reality is much more tragic. Rogue planets are usually kicked out of their star systems, doomed to a solitary existence of circling the center of the galaxy on their own. How sad. You see, things get messy when planetary systems, including ours, form. While planets appear from the cosmic dust surrounding a newborn star, they jostle one another around. This gravitational game of pool can easily shove some planets toward the edges of a star system, or eject one or two of them altogether. Then there are also nearby stars that can shove planets around too. Most stars are not born on their own. Clusters of dozens to thousands of stars often appear in space. No wonder that in such a crowded environment, a star with its own set of planets might whisk away a planet or two from another star. After stealing a planet, it can keep it for itself or cast it out into space. At the same time, some free-floating planets might form in a different way, with no parent star to help them. They appear from collapsed clouds of gas and dust, just like stars do. But sadly, they don't manage to put on enough weight to start nuclear reactions, the ones that make stars emit light. These objects are also known as failed stars. Hey, who said they failed? And they resemble planets. Rogue planets are very hard to detect. When astronomers want to find an exoplanet, they look for something blocking the light of its parent star. That's usually the planet passing between the star and the observer. But researchers can't use the same technique with free-floating planets because, in this case, there's no parent star. The only way to locate them is to rely on gravity. Now, imagine a line of sight between a telescope on Earth and a distant star. When an object crosses that line, its presence is likely to bend and magnify the star's light. This, in turn, makes the star appear brighter than usual. As for the duration of this brightening, it depends on the nature of this moving object. If the brightening lasts a few days, it's a star. If the duration is about a day or so, it's a Jupiter mass object. And if it's just a couple of hours, this object is something that equals the mass of our planet. But the trickiest part is to figure out whether this object is indeed a rogue planet. It's true that stars whose light such celestial bodies bend can't be their parent stars. They're too far away. But there still might be a parent star, invisible because of the glare of the luminous star. And astronomers have to wait up to a decade for the luminous star to move a bit to check for a potential parent star. If there's still no parent star in sight, then it's proven. The planet is traveling solo. One thing is clear. Without parent stars to warm them, rogue planets are frozen worlds. Even if ice doesn't go all the way down to their cores, it certainly covers such planets with hard, icy shells. On the bright side, maybe free-floating planets aren't as lonely as we think. They might have moons of their own. They probably take them along when they get pushed out of their cosmic homes. Even more exciting, these exomoons might have liquid water. At least that's what a 2021 study published in the International Journal for Astrobiology claims. Actually, I don't get that magazine, but it sounds fancy. But could a free-roaming world find a new home near a different star? Some experts think it's unlikely. The universe is an incredibly spacious place, and even a large star is hardly able to slow down enough to lasso a fast-moving planet. For example, in 2017, an interstellar guest, an asteroid the size of a skyscraper, appeared in our solar system. It barreled through the solar system and just kept going without stopping or slowing down. But what if it was a rogue planet? Would it stay with us? Astronomers say it's unlikely. If it happened, they would be thrilled, such a research opportunity. But the rest of us would likely be terrified by the implications of having such a neighbor. At the same time, maybe it wouldn't be such a big problem, considering how big and very empty our solar system is. But even without a rogue planet invading our solar system, the orbits of our planets are going to change one day. In 5 billion years or so, the Sun will start to dim. It'll begin to lose its mass until its gravity is too weak to hold on to the outermost planets of the solar system. Neptune, Uranus, and probably Pluto might turn into rogue planets. They will slowly drift away, unbothered by the cold and mostly unchanged due to their already frozen environments. And yeah, I know the scientists demoted Pluto as a planet years ago, but it's still a planet to me, so sue me. And what about Earth? Oh, our planet will have a different fate, much more tragic. As stars lose mass nearing the end of their lives, they eject gas and dust in all directions. And since our planet is in the way, it'll most likely get enveloped in this scorching stream and vaporize. But calm down, it won't happen for a few more billion years. And who knows where humanity will be at that time. As for now, astronomers hunt rogue planets with enthusiasm. For example, NASA's Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope is going to conduct a survey to discover more free-floating exoplanets using its powerful techniques of a wide-field telescope. The stars in our Milky Way galaxy move all the time, and chance adjustments of the telescope can help researchers spot rogue planets. But there's one drawback. We won't know the distance to such a planet even if we find one. There's one more mission concept, cleverly called Cleopatra. It might be able to exploit parallax effects to calculate the distances to rogue planets. Parallax is a shift in the position of a foreground object when seen by observers in slightly different locations. To maximize this effect, Cleopatra might hitch a ride on a Mars-bound mission. It's supposed to place it in orbit around the Sun. That's a sufficient distance from Earth, which can help the mission effectively measure the parallax signal and fill in the missing information for astronomers.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like if every planet in our solar system was the size of Earth? Well, it's time to dive into this mind-boggling scenario. Let's imagine what each planet would look like if they were as big as our beloved blue planet. Would the barren red landscape of Mars suddenly become a lush green oasis? Would the massive swirling gas giant Jupiter just disappear? And how would it affect our solar system as a whole? Are we all doomed? Buckle up and let's find out. The first planet on our list is Mercury, the smallest planet in our solar system. But now, forget about the moon-like Mercury. Instead, picture yourself on the surface of a super dynamic incandescent inferno. There are a lot of craters and active volcanoes around you, and right in front of you is a huge, blinding bright sun. What a nightmare! But let's break these changes down. Well, along with the size of Mercury, both its mass and gravity would increase. In that case, it's possible that Mercury would have more atmosphere. Temperatures on Mercury are extreme, not only because it's very close to the Sun, but also because of its very thin atmosphere. So during the day, the temperatures there reach 800 degrees Fahrenheit. And at night, it becomes terrifyingly cold, down to negative 290 degrees Fahrenheit. But now, when the gravity is stronger, Mercury could have a denser atmosphere, so the heat would be better distributed across the planet. And the atmosphere isn't the only thing that could make it hotter. If Mercury became bigger, it would likely experience increased internal heating due to gravitational compression. And hypothetically, its tectonic activity could increase. In other words, more interesting landscape, more mountains, and more scary active volcanoes. Congratulations, you've turned Mercury into Venus 2.0. For us, all these changes wouldn't be very pleasant. Now it would become much harder to send our spacecraft there, so it's better for Mercury to stay as it is, small, calm, and boring. Basically, the complete opposite of our next planet, Venus. So what would happen to Venus if it was Earth-sized? Actually, nothing. It wouldn't change at all because Venus is already almost the size of Earth. It's even called the Earth's twin, although twin is a big word, of course. In reality, we couldn't be more different. Venus is often called the morning star because it's so bright and visible in the sky. But don't let its beauty fool you. This planet is one of the most inhospitable places in our solar system. Its surface is hotter than a freshly baked pizza, around 900 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's covered in thick clouds of sulfuric acid that would dissolve any human who tried to visit. So, unfortunately, you won't be planning any trips there anytime soon. So let's move on to a planet that, unlike Venus, could potentially become a new home for us, Mars. Picture yourself standing on Mars's surface, watching the blue sunset and breathing in a refreshing breeze of air. Yes, you read that right, air. Moreover, you could be surrounded by plants, animals, and basically feel like you're on Earth. But how is that possible? Bigger Mars would have a stronger magnetic field and gravity. This would lead to a richer and denser atmosphere. It would likely have a wider range of gases, including oxygen. Wouldn't that be cool? Also, a denser atmosphere could distribute heat across the planet, so Mars would become much warmer and cozier. And here comes the most important change: liquid water. Mars actually has some frozen water at its poles and in subsurface reservoirs. But with a stronger gravitational pull, it could potentially stabilize liquid water on its surface. Hooray! However, it's not all fun and games. New Mars would also have a volcanic personality. It's already geologically active, but now its internal heat and pressure would skyrocket. That means more frequent and more crazy volcanic eruptions. Imagine how exciting it would be to witness such eruptions on another planet, if you manage to escape the consequences. In general, the planet could become greener and lusher, but not safer, although it would still be great to see it. But it's time to move on to the giants of our solar system. And if we're enlarging the planets before, now it's time to squeeze them really, really hard. If Jupiter became 11 times smaller, oh boy, what a disaster that would be. The first thing we'd notice is a change in gravity. And I say we'd notice because now we'd have no choice but to move somewhere. Jupiter experiences from 30 to 100 collisions with large asteroids per year. No big deal, all because of its strongest gravity, which attracts them all and protects us. But now our big protective brother has turned into a small baby. Say hi to a bunch of asteroids. Oh, and say bye-bye to Jupiter. This planet is known for its thick, swirling atmosphere. But with a weaker gravitational pull, Jupiter would probably have a hard time holding on to it. So over time, it would slowly escape into space, leaving behind a thin atmosphere composed mainly of nitrogen and oxygen. We'll also have to bid farewell to the iconic appearance of another giant, Saturn. The most noticeable difference would be the disappearance of its famous rings. Made up of small particles of ice and rock, the rings are a unique feature of Saturn. But with Earth's gravity, they would either fall onto the planet or scatter into space. Bummer. Saturn is also a gas giant, just like Jupiter. Its atmosphere is made up of mostly hydrogen and helium. But if it were Earth-sized, its gases would be compressed due to the increased gravity. This would make it much denser. That means Saturn's overall size and shape would change. Theoretically, if we squeeze Saturn hard, it could potentially become a brown dwarf. It's a type of failed star that lacks the mass to sustain nuclear fusion, but emits heat and light. So, Saturn could stop being a planet altogether. The weather on it would probably have changed too. All its crazy storms, such as the famous hexagonal storm at its North Pole, would have become weaker and calmer. The next giant is Uranus. Let's try to compress this poor fella. First off, the surface gravity on Uranus would be much weaker than it is now. Its atmosphere might also change. If Uranus was smaller, it could have a thinner atmosphere and different gases altogether. This planet is pretty chilly, with an average temperature of -353 degrees Fahrenheit. Ugh. But if it was the size of Earth, it might actually warm up a bit due to its reduced volume to surface area ratio. Don't get too excited though, it would still be way colder than the coldest spots on Earth. As you can see, gas giants don't easily go through all this shrinking, except perhaps one of them. Surprisingly, small Neptune would become much friendlier. For starters, it would probably be a rocky planet with a tiny atmosphere. That means no more gas giant, but instead, a planet that's easier for humans and critters alike to live and move around on. Speaking of movement, because of the smaller size, the gravity on this new Neptune would be almost the same as Earth's, making it a heck of a lot easier to walk and jump around. No more floating away into space. Now, the atmosphere of the original Neptune is so thick you could barely see your hand in front of your face. And the surface pressure is about 100 times that of Earth's atmosphere. But our new Neptune would be much different, with a much thinner and less dense atmosphere. It would still have some methane, water, and ammonia in it, but nowhere near as much as before. Finally, the temperature. The current Neptune is freezing, with an average temperature of about -370 degrees Fahrenheit. But if it was the same size as Earth, it would likely be much warmer, just like Uranus. Ah, that's more like it. What a planet that would be. That's it for the changes in the planets. But what would happen to the entire solar system if we made all the planets so small? It's hard to predict, but it's clear that their gravity and orbits could change a lot. It's unlikely that any of them would have flown into outer space, or crashed into each other, or something like that. But many of their orbits would probably become quite unstable, and the number of collisions with asteroids would have increased significantly. Of course, all this is purely speculation. It's not like we can actually test all this. But it's still a pretty interesting thought experiment, and it makes you appreciate just how unique and special our solar system.
2022 and 2023 have been landmark years for discovering new, fascinating worlds. Last year, NASA surpassed 5,000 confirmed exoplanets. The list is incredibly diverse. It includes rocky super-Earths, gas giants like Jupiter, ice giants like Neptune, and so on. And this is just the beginning. There might be more than 1 trillion exoplanets in our galaxy alone. But the most important question is, how many of them are habitable, for us? Are there any planets on this list that could have life on them? Or that could be a future home for us? Of course there are. And in 2022-2023, we found as many as 5 of them. So buckle up and hang on for a wild ride beyond our solar system. The first planet on our list is Wolf 1069b, a boring and stodgy designation. So I'll simply nickname it Wolfie, because hey, who's going to stop me, NASA? A new study conducted by 50 starry-eyed astronomers confirmed something awesome. This exoplanet, Wolfie, which is located just 31 light-years away from us, could potentially be a rocky world. In other words, theoretically, it's a habitable planet. The team behind this discovery used a technique called radial velocity to detect the exoplanet. This is a way scientists study the movements of stars and planets. It's as if when you're playing catch with a friend, as they throw the ball to you, you can see it coming closer and closer. It's kind of like radial velocity. When a planet is moving towards us, it makes the star it orbits appear to be coming closer to us. When the planet is moving away from us, it also makes the star look more distant. Scientists can use this information to figure out what the planet is doing and how big it is, and that's how they found Wolfie. This exoplanet is estimated to be the Earth's size and about 1 1/3 times the mass of our planet. It's orbiting a red dwarf star who I'll call Wolfie's mama. But here's the real kicker. Wolfie orbits within its star's habitable zone, which means it's a prime candidate for liquid water to exist on its surface. That's like hitting the exoplanetary jackpot. Ooh, wish I had a ticket. The study estimates that if Wolfie does have an Earth-like atmosphere, temperatures could rise as high as 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which would mean liquid water could pool on the planet's day side. But here's the catch. The exoplanet is tidally locked to its star, meaning that the same side always faces the star. Just imagine, one side of the planet is always basked in the warmth of its star, while the other is in eternal darkness. Like middle school. Just kidding. The team behind the discovery believes it's a prime candidate for further studies, but we'll probably have to wait another 10 years for answers. Until then, we'll just have to keep searching the skies with our telescopes and crossed fingers. Our next planet is TOI 700e. What's a good nickname? NASA has just discovered a new planet that's set to take the galaxies by storm, or shall we say by orbit. I'll nickname it Toys Were Us. It's almost the size of Earth, most likely has liquid water on its surface, and it's only 100 light-years away. We're not talking about a road trip, of course, but this is close enough in the grand scheme of things. Toys Were Us is the 4th planet in its system, and it's got a bit of a short orbit, just 28 days to circle its star. Well, at least you would have a birthday every month. Hooray! This time, the discovery was made using the transit method. Planets themselves are incredibly small and hard to detect, but when a planet is in front of its star, it blocks some of the light coming from it, making it look a little bit dimmer. As soon as the planet moves away, the star gets brighter again. So, to find the planet, scientists watch very carefully to see if the star's brightness changes. If it does, that means there's probably a planet playing hide-and-seek with us. And that's how they discovered Toys Were Us. The Tess mission discovered it. It discovered 66 new exoplanets and 2,100 more candidates waiting to be confirmed. Tess has been very busy creating imaging for 75% of the sky. Talk about efficiency. Toys Were Us is located in the optimistic habitable zone, between planets C and D, but it may be tidally locked, just like Wolfie, so we might have to settle for a one-sided water world. The discovery of Toys Were Us is a promising prospect for future follow-up observations, and it demonstrates the potential for Tess to find even smaller exoplanets in the future. Who knows? It may find a new home for humanity among the stars one day, or at least a new vacation spot. Next, we have twins GJ1002b and GJ1002c. The galaxy just got a little bit closer to us with the discovery of 2 exoplanets, which I'll nickname Hansel and Gretel, that are just a stone's throw away from our solar system. That's right, these 2 Earth-like planets are located less than 16 light-years away, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump in space terms. For comparison, Proxima Centauri b is the closest Earth-mass exoplanet at 4.2 light-years away. So, these 2 new neighbors are among the closest to us. They both orbit a red dwarf star with barely 1/8 the mass of the Sun. It's quite cool and faint, but that's okay, since both planets are very close to it. Hansel takes 10 days to orbit its star, while Gretel takes just over 21 days. Even more birthdays, I guess. The discovery was made by an international scientific team and was no small feat. The team had to work together with 2 instruments, espresso and Carmini's. The result? A cafe latte. Nah. What they got were measurements so accurate, you could practically count the number of craters on the planet's surfaces. The big deal is, the planets are located in the habitable zone of their star and are just the right size, making them excellent candidates for future atmospheric studies. The lead author says, "Nature seems bent on showing us that Earth-like planets are very common. With these 2, we now know 7 in planetary systems quite near to the Sun." Who knew our neighbors could be so friendly? In conclusion, the discovery of Hansel and Gretel is a giant leap for humankind. So let's all raise a glass of H2O, or whatever they drink on exoplanets, and celebrate it. The last planet on our list is LP 890-9c, which I'll call Bob. This super-Earth, located about 98 light-years away, is roughly 40% larger than our home planet. Moreover, it has a twin, which I'll nickname Ray, which is up to 75% larger than Earth. More space is always good, right? The two planets orbit around the red dwarf star. Unfortunately, Ray is quite hot to the touch, with an estimated temperature of 253 degrees Fahrenheit, so don't touch. Its sibling, Bob, is located in the habitable zone of its star, making it a prime candidate for the potential of life. But let's remember that the actual temperature of the planets depends on their atmospheres. It's possible that Bob, being the outermost planet, has a runaway greenhouse effect, making it more like Venus than Earth. So it might be too hot to be habitable at all. But let's not lose hope yet. The James Webb Space Telescope, launched in December 2021, is on the case. With its cutting-edge technology and powerful instruments, including spectrographs, it can peer into the atmospheres of exoplanets and reveal which ones might be habitable. So let's see what it discovers. This planet has been listed as the second most favorable habitable zone terrestrial planet. Now it's on the list with 7 other Earth-like planets, all about 40 light-years away from us. Maybe they'll become our new homes in the future. Maybe we should fix the home we have. But until then, enjoy this moment and celebrate all these new discoveries. Who knows how many more planets we'll find in the future, considering how much technology develops each year? Thousands? Millions? Meanwhile, Bob and Ray, Hansel and Gretel, Toys R Us, Wolfie and her mama will all be out there waiting for us.